What's the plan of attack now?
Well, apparently, the rear diff out, new diff in, new tail shaft in, rear hubs off, new hubs on, front hubs on, all the brakes.
Sounds like a plan. Well guys, welcome back for part 3 of the STI driveline swap series. In part 2 we covered the gearbox and clutch install and a few other miscellaneous tasks along the way. So make sure you check that one out first and then you can carry straight on to this one. Okay, so first up, this is a pretty obvious one. You want to drain the oil from the diff. One thing I'll note, before you do this, it's always good practice to actually check that the bung up the top, which is the filler bung, will actually come out, because if you can't get that out, there is no point taking the drain bung out. But as you can see, in our case, the planets were aligned, everything went smoothly, and the drain bung actually came out. Damn! And that ain't good. You do not want to see that inside your diff, that's for sure. Look at all that shit. Oh yeah. So next on the agenda, we've got to remove the rear drive shaft from both the diff and the hub. So to remove the drive shaft, it's actually quite simple. All you have to do is remove this long bolt that goes through both the lateral links that connects them to the hub, and then literally all you do is just pull the whole hub and suspension assembly out to the side of the vehicle, and you can pop the drive shaft out of that and then pop it out of the diff, and Bob's your uncle. So seeing you're already in this area, it's probably worthwhile just doing the hub now. So firstly you need to take your brake off, disconnect all your handbrake and disconnect the handbrake cable, remove any ABS sensors if they're present, undo the bolt which holds the bottom of the hub to the control arm, as well as the two that go through the bottom of the rear strut. So all that's left to do is literally pull it off, make sure everything's disconnected, and then that is one hub done.
It's cool if you do karaoke, you know, eh?
So now to remove the diff. There's two studs in the back of the diff, which Adrian's undoing now.
And then as we were walking past him, we had a bit of a chuckle, and the guy goes, "Oh, karaoke!"
Then proceed to undo the 4 bolts on the bottom of the diff. And then lastly, the 2 on each side.
Oh, you do have stuff on.
Yeah.
So you have strap-ons?
Damn. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. You really? No. Oh shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, driver.
Let's get a diff size comparison. So R180, R160. Let's call it 160. So guys, you may have already noticed, but the studs on the R160 diff that we just took out are actually about 30mm longer than the studs that came on the R180 diff that we're going to be putting in. So we've got to swap these over. So we'll show you a neat trick to be able to do this quite easily. So all you need to do is just get the 2 nuts that came off the studs, put them both on the same stud, and then tighten them together. So then once you've done that, you need to just basically get the nut that's at the back and twist it anti-clockwise as you would to normally undo a nut, and it will tighten against the one in front, and you can then undo the stud. Okay, so it's now time to get your new rear hubs ready to go back on the car. So one thing to note, it's always good to check the state of the wheel bearing before you do this, as Adrian's doing right now. So these ones were basically seized up when we got them. We managed to free them up and get them working, well, what we thought was alright. But actually after having them on the car and on the way home, Brett noticed a grinding noise, which was pretty evident that it was the wheel bearing playing up. So it's just one thing to think about. It might be worth getting another set of wheel bearings and pressing them in while you're doing this, because you don't want to really do things twice. Okay, firstly you need to remove the spring that holds the two brake shoes together at the bottom of the hub. Then on the brake shoe that's got the handbrake cable attached to it, you need to twist and remove this little pin that holds it in place. Then at the top of the hub, you need to remove the yellow spring, or whichever colour spring it is that's holding that brake shoe to the other one. Then you should be able to remove the shoe like so. Also take note of which way this spreader sits, and also make sure it's in there when you actually reassemble the whole assembly. You can now go about removing the handbrake cable from the brake shoe. Next you can flip the whole hub over and start to remove the handbrake cable from the back of the hub, which is as simple as removing this little clip here. So then all that's left to do is just to remove the handbrake cable from the hub. Now with this done, all you need to do is reinstall the new hubs on your vehicle and use your existing handbrake cable in the place of the one you just removed. So basically this will be the same as doing it on the rear, but there are a couple of differences. Firstly being how the actual hub is attached to the control arm, and secondly, on this model of vehicle in particular, the front drive shafts are a male to female setup, so there's little stub axles in the gearbox, so the female end of the drive shaft slips over that, and then there's just one pin in each drive shaft holding it to the stub axle. So after removing any sensors that are on the wheel, like the ABS sensor, you can take the two bolts out of the strut, which hold it to the hub. Next up is the bolt that holds the ball joint to the bottom of the hub. So you just got to remove that, and then it should just literally pop out. Then once that's done, you've got to remove the tie rod end. So that is done by taking out the split pin through the castle nut, taking off the castle nut, and then it'll probably require a little bit of leverage to pop the tie rod end out of the bottom of the hub. So now all that's left to do is to actually take the hub off. So as you can see, it will just pop straight off that ball joint, and you should have already loosened your drive shaft axle nut by now. So you can now untwist that, and then it should literally just slide off the end of the drive shaft. So lucky last step. All you need to do is knock the pin out through the drive shaft, and then literally pull the drive shaft out from the box, and that is seriously it. It is that easy to do. It's a common misconception that it's a difficult job to tackle at home, but it really isn't. It's that simple.